Urgent Cleveland Browns fans. Do not miss this. What just happened? You won't believe this one. But before we reveal the big news, make sure to subscribe to the channel, because here, we bring you daily videos with the latest Cleveland Browns updates. And to not miss anything, activate the notifications. Hey, Browns fans, buckle up because today, we're diving into some serious NFL news that could have a massive impact on your beloved team. You know, the Cleveland Browns have been building something special on defense over the past few seasons, especially with Myles Garrett leading the charge. But now, with some interesting developments happening just across the division, the potential for Cleveland to bolster that pass rush even further is becoming more real than ever. And trust me, what's happening with their rivals might open up some incredible opportunities for the Browns, so stick around because this story is heating up and you won't want to miss a second of it. Now, let's start with the star of the Browns defense, Myles Garrett. If you've been following the NFL for a while, you know Garrett isn't just a good player, he's one of the most dominant pass rushers in the league today. Last season, Garrett was once again among the league leaders in sacks, and his presence on the field completely changes the way offenses plan their attacks. When you have a player like Garrett, who can consistently get after the quarterback, it creates a domino effect that makes the entire Browns defense formidable. Cleveland has already invested heavily in Garrett, giving him a big contract extension that keeps him in Cleveland for years to come. That move signals the team's commitment to building around him and creating a pass rush that strikes fear into any opposing quarterback. But here's where it gets interesting. While Cleveland has secured Garrett's future, the team has been eyeing other ways to add firepower to that defensive line. And that's where the potential trade target comes into play, Trey Hendrickson. Now, Hendrickson is currently a key player for the Cincinnati Bengals, and he's proven to be one of the most consistent and disruptive pass rushers in the league. Over the past couple of seasons, Hendrickson has racked up an impressive number of sacks, and his ability to get after the quarterback has made him one of the most sought-after players at his position. The Bengals, for their part, are in a tricky spot. They're in a division that's fiercely competitive, and Hendrickson's future with the team is now in question, especially after some recent public comments that have everyone talking. So, what exactly happened? Well, it all started when Hendrickson decided to go public with his frustrations earlier this week. He called out the Bengals front office, accusing them of breaking promises made to him and his representation. Hendrickson took to ESPN and didn't hold back. He basically said there's been a complete lack of communication since the draft, that offers made before the draft didn't align with what he was told last offseason, and that the team has been unresponsive when it comes to negotiating a new contract. That's a pretty strong message from one of their key players, and it indicates that things are not smooth behind the scenes in Cincinnati. Now, it's important to understand that Hendrickson hasn't explicitly demanded a trade, at least not publicly. But his words paint a pretty clear picture of dissatisfaction and frustration. And in the NFL, when a player of his caliber starts making these kinds of public statements, it usually means a move could be on the horizon. The Bengals have to be feeling the heat right now, especially with the season approaching and the uncertainty surrounding Hendrickson's future. And this is where the Cleveland Browns could step in and make a serious play. Imagine a scenario where Cleveland, armed with some valuable draft capital, makes an enticing offer to Cincinnati for Hendrickson. The Browns have been smart in recent drafts, accumulating picks that could be very appealing to a team like the Bengals. For instance, Cleveland owns a 7th-round pick in 2026 via a trade with the Detroit Lions, and they also have a couple of future draft picks that could sweeten the deal. Reports suggest that Cleveland might be willing to offer a 2nd-round pick in 2026, a 3rd-round pick in 2027, and that 7th-rounder from Detroit. That kind of package, combined with Hendrickson's proven production, could be enough to sway Cincinnati to part ways with one of their most productive pass rushers. Now, let's look at Hendrickson's stats because they speak volumes about his value. Since joining Cincinnati from the New Orleans Saints, Hendrickson has been a consistent force on that defensive line. In 65 games, he started 64, and over the last 2 seasons alone, he's accumulated 35 sacks. That's nearly a sack per game, folks. That kind of production is rare and highly sought after. Hendrickson isn't just a one-trick pony, he's a complete edge rusher who can set the edge against the run and bring relentless pressure on the quarterback. Pairing him with Myles Garrett would be a nightmare for any offensive line in the NFL. Imagine those two elite pass rushers coming at you from opposite ends. Offenses would be in trouble, and quarterbacks would be forced to hurry their throws, leading to more turnovers and bad decisions. And let's not forget the bigger picture here. The Browns have been all in on building a top-tier defense, especially since their return to prominence. They've added key pieces through the draft and free agency, but an upgrade like Hendrickson could elevate the entire unit to a new level. It's not just about having a couple of good players, it's about creating a relentless pass rush that can dominate games. And with the likes of Garrett, who has already been recognized as one of the best defensive players in the league, adding Hendrickson would make Cleveland's pass rush one of the most feared in the NFL. Now, if Hendrickson becomes available, it's safe to say that several teams across the league will be interested. When a player publicly calls out his team over contract disputes, it's usually a clear sign that a trade is imminent. NFL insiders are already buzzing about the possibility of Hendrickson hitting the market, and Cleveland should be closely monitoring the situation. The Browns have the draft capital and the cap space to make a compelling offer, and with the division rivals potentially weakening their own squads, Cleveland could swoop in and make a bold move that shifts the balance of power in the AFC North. Of course, this isn't just about one player. It's about the overall strategy of the Browns front office. They've shown a willingness to be aggressive when the right opportunity arises. Whether it's adding a star receiver, a game-changing linebacker, or bolstering their pass rush, Cleveland isn't afraid to make bold moves to improve the team. And if Hendrickson's availability is confirmed, it would be a no-brainer for them to jump in and negotiate hard for a player of his caliber. But let's also keep in mind the bigger context. The AFC North is arguably one of the most competitive divisions in the NFL, with teams like the Ravens, Steelers, and Bengals all vying for the top spot. The Browns know they need to improve their roster to compete consistently at the highest level. Adding a player like Hendrickson would not only improve their pass rush but also send a message to the rest of the league that Cleveland is serious about contending for a playoff run and maybe even a Super Bowl. It's about building a team that can impose its will on opponents week after week. And what about the fans? If Cleveland can land Hendrickson, it would be a game-changer. It would energize the fan base, boost team morale, and give the Browns a serious edge on defense. Plus, it would send a clear signal that the front office is willing to make strategic moves to put the team over the top. Browns fans have been waiting for a moment like this, something to rally behind, something that makes their team not just good, but dominant. Now, looking ahead, there are some questions that fans are probably asking themselves. Will Cincinnati be willing to trade Hendrickson? How much will it cost? And most importantly, how will this impact the AFC North race? Well, it's all speculative for now, but the signs point to an intriguing possibility that Cleveland might just be in the right place at the right time to make a splash. The NFL offseason is always full of surprises, and this could be one of the biggest stories of the summer. In conclusion, Browns fans, keep your eyes peeled. The potential for Hendrickson to join Cleveland is something that could reshape the team's defense and give them that extra edge they've been craving. With Garrett already anchoring a fierce front seven, adding a player of Hendrickson's caliber would make Cleveland's pass rush one of the most feared in the league, capable of terrorizing quarterbacks and changing the course of games. As the offseason unfolds, expect the Browns to be active, watching closely, and ready to pounce if the right opportunity presents itself. This is what competitive teams do: they stay alert, they strike when the moment is right, and they keep building toward championships. Browns fans, get ready because the offseason might just be heating up more than ever, and your team could be on the verge of making a move that fans will talk about all season long. And now, Cleveland Browns fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this potential Hendrickson situation? Do you think Cleveland should go all in and make a trade? Would you be willing to part with some future picks to bring him in? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Browns community. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Cleveland Browns news, because this team is just getting started, and the best is yet to come.